And my apologies if you weren't hearing my beautiful voice up to now. Good lord, this is what happens when you wake up late today on the Nurburgring. We do indeed have 14 drivers, and we are ready. We've already been getting going. What am I saying? Getting ready to go. What am I saying? Getting ready to go. I got to show you the starting grid, at least on the road. Down we go. Adam Miles leads the pack on a standing start at the Nurburgring. Toshimasa Hansa is our first driver here on today's race, who isn't usually a part of this Skip Barber field. And let me say, this race could either go multiple ways, with death or with a bit of peace until the final resolution at the very end of the road. We're gonna send these drivers flying around the grid to at least begin the day. Miles, our highest I-rating driver of the field. Most drivers didn't set a qualifying time prior in the week. Sunday Bresca may have upped the field. And Miles had a good launch. Part of me was expecting carnage in its 4.5 at KSOF race. I can hear that myself worked. My apologies for making some massive changes to the audio, and I wasn't quite expecting something that extraordinary. I'm seeing a lot of movement back. Oh, it is the death parade. We did catch the death parade in time. That is a significant Jene Bresca caught there. Chris Wayne caught Jene Zorek and Peter Sapanki. And why don't we just take a little peek at what might have caused this one. It's very, very foggy out here in the Nurburgring today. I'm really not enjoying these conditions. That is not terribly helpful. Okay, Jene Bresca loses it. Anything else going on up ahead? Oh, going back to catch that. It's not even this car. It's one of those Dunkersaw cars further up. Yeah. Everyone has been sent straight to hell. Bit of a big mistake there. Has really triggered the Constantina, and I'm sure people might be a little bit disappointed with that. But I've been thrown off my game by muting my mic for the first portion of the race the moment I decided to make setup changes. I threw myself off my own game today. We're doing 3 laps of the Nurburgring, and it's going to be a very, very unique race because these cars, I think they race around here particularly well at the very, very, very end. There's going to be some games played, I think. It's the longest straight on the whole iRacing schedule, and drivers are they going to just sit back and wait, quite possibly, to, like, not get the draft? Because I think whoever's in front at the start of the last lap has lost. They're out of this race for good. 9 drivers on the field now. We've lost so many. Their tow takes an entire lap, even with the fast repair. So they're going to be gone for a very, very, very long time. One driver who we've never really seen on the broadcast before is Toshimasa Hanada. It's not even that hard of a name. I just, see something for the first time, and it really, really throws me off my game. Sometimes we call them the Nords Nerds for just coming out just for the ring week. As he's going to tail down Adam Miles effectively now. A lot of this track is not really wide enough for a proper side-by-side battle. A lot of it is going to be tailing for some of the big draft zones, but it looks as if, and next fastest portion of the track around the back here, he might just be making a move for it down behind Ryan Chinoweth. It's for Neil Gardner, who hasn't been that far up the field in a few weeks. And Daniel Atoga has taken advantage of the chaos, and I will try and get more replays of that chaos and try and unpack what happened a little bit more. There's some pesky trees in the way of the chopper cam this time. I mean, I don't fly a chopper around these tracks only to be interrupted very rudely by a bunch of trees you put on the side. It just doesn't really work for me. And a bridge. I mean, get rid of them. Let me do my job over here. Running through the classic carousel corner. Haven't seen the cars race terribly closely in terms of a battling game, but we are about to hit the dot on the hose straight. It's one of the only true names I know. Just over halfway through the lap at this point. I might as well bring up a track map here so we can get a sense of where we are. That is sure is some orientation they've chosen to show it in. I've never quite seen the Nords that upside down. That's going to give us a good fix. We have a little bit of time to go, but then that's the longest straight in iRacing is going to lead to some games being played, I think, between the drivers today on the track. I mean, I kind of dread to know what that post-race drag race is going to look like. How can iRacing really give us TV cams that clip through trees like this? Even on a track itself, how does it happen? The battle further behind it really is a Chenoweth, Gardner, a Toga train as ever, as Adam Miles ever so blessed to put this on the schedule. I'm not a hater. I've never worked out how to drive this track, never worked it out in my life, but I'm not a complete hater. Although I can understand being one. It certainly brings out a very, very different kind of animal onto the field. Over behind, the only other driver really in a shot with this lead pack, I think that is Sam Devontier just behind everybody else. There are a few still in this race, having not been collected in that lap 1 melee, but they have not been able to really catch this field. So it was Zerne Zorek who... Here we go, Zerne Zorek going to pit. I just want to try and catch the best angle I can of what might have happened here. I think it was Zerne Zorek, though. Don't want to name names or anything, but I mean, the fog, the weather conditions today. Oh! No, that is him absolutely flying off another car, and that's really the trigger for all of it as we catch them down further behind. Maybe I shouldn't speak too soon when it comes to judging people for their errors. Who knows? We're on the dot in a hole right now, and this is the greatest slipstream on all of iRacing down this backstretch. You can't see anything through the weather conditions that have been set for us today. iRacing love making it as moody as possible on this track. It enhances the mood lighting feeling. Okay, that's what they tell themselves. So they fly down. There really isn't an angle that can properly catch the chase. But I can tell you that just through the art of sheer slipstreaming, Daniel Toga has ended out in front this time around. Or is up in front. Toshimasa Hanada has claimed the P1. I'm not describing this with the ultimate excitement in the world because we're going to be heading around this 2 more times. And quite frankly, both of them are each of them is less important than the next. The final chase down that start-finish straight could be considered legendary, or could be considered farcical. It's going to depend on your perspective later today in this race, and we've got plenty of time to make up before then. Till then, really, it's just about observing quite how much of a challenge it is to get around this track. Here's a beautiful on board of the... I do praise the zipper car every once in a while, don't I? I mean, it really does. It's like a throwback to the BAR. If you like the 99 BAR, if you stuck it between 2 teams. Remember the 99 BAR? I mean, I try not to remember the 99 BAR. I try not to, but like, you know, they really did have that idea out there. Let's just stick 2 different cars on that, and let's get going. No, Gardner hasn't had a terribly good finish in a while, and maybe these drivers are going to have to work together a little bit around the ring in order to catch up to these lead 2, although Adam Miles does like to dominate everything he looks at. Just everything he looks at in his face. It's his, and he's due to claim it. I can see there, they are side by side. Daniel Toga is cleared by Ryan Chenoweth. You do see battling around the rest of the ring, and I don't see they're many miles off the front. Certainly not over for these drivers. They need to just stay in it for this final chase on the final lap. They just need to stay close enough to stay relevant. And then the big game can begin on the backstretch as ever. We're going to have 2 more runs of it, and they are going to be quite unlike anything else, as you want to be anywhere but first. it's a peloton race. That's the correct term to use. It is the iRacing peloton, the iPeloton. In fact, you could call it. Let's take a little bit of a peek further down the road. So that should be Sam Devontier, 3 seconds back from the pack. Tero Hitanen in 7th. I have to sort of shout out these names because I sort of missed them during my starting grid and my race start. I just chose not to show up. Tom Payne in front of Brendan McDonough. Dene Zorek leads this pack. Not as guilty. I think it was Peter Sapanki. I'll give that one more look when I have a moment, but I think it could have been Peter Sapanki. Or it could have been Chris Rain or Zerne Breska. Either way, it's not a good day for people that would self-describe themselves as old kids, okay? It seems like a uniquely bad day to be one of those. And quite a small split did not ward off the demons of the lap one big one at the Nurburgring. Really could not. Not out of range here. Not out of range of Toshimasa Hanada, as Adam Miles was able to swing on back by. A little bit of dirt being kicked up. It almost felt like some travesty up ahead, but these cars are just about staying on their own, so all the meatballs got cleared. Where can I find Adam Miles making that pass back up again? It was while we were on board with those drivers behind. Adam is certainly racing, and he does actually want to be in first here, which is curious. Maybe just asserting your dominance over the field. Man would win this championship if he was here every week. Does get himself a very clean, very, very nice pass done. Further behind, they're going 2 to 3 wide. They're not done whatsoever. Neil Gardner ahead of that pack for now, but Ryan Chenoweth and Daniel Toga, definitely, they're all trading places. This is the next best part of the track that you can really make these passes. It's very, very fast and sweeping up and down these hills. Tom Payne is battling out with Brendan McDonough as well. Tom Payne behind, Brendan ahead. If you have a partner, this race becomes a lot easier, but it's so much harder to make a partner if you haven't by now. Such is the fundamental limitation around this place in a draft-heavy car. It's very unique to do a sprint race format around there, I have to say, but Adam knows what he's doing. It brings out the fans. It brings out the obsessed. Although only one of them making it to this split. I guess everybody else that just farms the Nords might have made it to the bottom split. One of the issues is that formula rating is just harder to come by than sports car rating. So, and also, especially if you're like a Nords farmer, you'll get like 1 or 2 Nords weeks. I know I have a good old friend of mine who was able to just farm IndyCar on the Nordschleife, win almost every slot he went in, but you just get fewer opportunities to really exercise that strength. And Skip Barber Race Series certainly does bring in the drivers when it comes here to the Nords, but you know, how much formula rating are you getting to get yourself into a 4.3k SOF lobby? I believe it's around the 4.5 mark. I might have just spitballed that second half. Adam Miles now a second ahead of Toshimasa Hanada. The greatest move he could do is being so far away that the slipstream isn't strong enough, and Adam has dropped in to drop kick the field so far. That gap was almost a second. I don't think he's actually quite far enough behind. We're very, very close now to heading down that dot on the hoe one more time and taking a nice little tour of what it's like to really get some slipstream from a car in front. Don't know which battle is going to be easier to watch. Further behind, Daniel Toga sneaks ahead of Ryan Chenoweth, but maybe you want to be on the back of this train for this run down the straight. Will the chopper get blocked? Maybe the fog will block it. Down. Down, down, down. Just want to keep it. I'm keeping an eye on that gap. I'll let you know if it starts shrinking enough to be concerned about. But this is also the real trade here. We're going 3 wide. Plenty of space for it. It's going to go down to... I think Chenoweth has the bigger advantage there on that outside line. I think the strategy did work from Adam Miles. The gap is just slightly... I think he will get it, but this is the more interesting one. Atoga sneaks back into the inside. He's got it 2 wide, just further behind. It's actually Chenoweth, who's lost out completely. Gardner has taken advantage of it again, staying in from the rear. And Hanada did not make the draft in time. Fastest lap of the race, it's Adam Miles. No slipstream, it no problem. An 8-minute 05. Didn't really get the qualifying segment as usual. Really between these 3, I think, for the most exciting spot on this racetrack. I think Adam Miles well and truly proved his superiority earlier on. Now it's down to this sort of top 3 to see how they'll fix themselves out. If there's no mistake, Adam Miles is well and truly made to soar to a Nordschleife P1 and a dominant one. Did Peter Sapanki crash again? The ever-seeing eye doesn't lie. I don't want to say again because there's quite a few cars with identical liveries for it. And that's definitely unfair. But I do feel like that's a self-inflicted one on the Nord. Made it about further than I would. It was... Ooh, I really want to catch this one more time because I just wanted to know, and every angle has been very unsatisfying. And I think we finally have the solution to the puzzle. It's Jerne Breska getting into contact with Neil Gardner. Can we do it? Can we bring in the chase cam? Oh, you can see that there was room in there for the 2, and iRacing definitely decided otherwise. That's all that's all my lawyer is going to say, that I'll legally oblige you. And might be some disagreement after the fact, of course. I like to keep an eye on what these people say after their races. I like to keep an eye on the disagreements. I try not to play judge, jury, and executioner, especially on tight lap 1s around the Nordschleife. I'll be totally honest. I try not to reserve my full judgment all the time, and that was a tricky turn, a tricky lap 1 incident with a busy field. Unfortunately, deflated this race a little bit, so it's about the best I could show you. We are on the last lap. We do have the white flag. And it's Miles, Hanada, Atoga, Gardner, Chenoweth right now. Be surprised to see things change. Now, this isn't really worth what it's written on, because I think these positions will shift. Adam Miles, with a win, will actually be back into the championship shout. He doesn't even show up for half the weeks on the Skippy Sunday schedule, but when he shows up, he makes sure to bring a clean sweep 50, and I was talking about him as not a championship contender. Not on his talent, obviously. I think he's by far the fastest Skip Barber driver every week. But just by the fact that he's not always there for it. If you're not always there for it, you can't really play the game. But he seems to be proving very much otherwise with points scoring like that. He's on board with Neil Gardner. He really makes the taste. I think it's a benefit of Hendrickson not really being here this week. It completely opens the game back up. Fascinating stuff. Hanada's not even really a championship player, and he'd love to just snipe this win anyway on such a vital SOF time for the community. And now it's all about keeping your head on your shoulders and not making a silly mistake. We've seen a couple silly mistakes, we've seen a couple small ones, but these small ones they'll end your race with the way the walls are to the circuit. Next week, it's a bit of a nostalgic time trip, not just for iRacing fans around the world, but also for me, because the first ever Skip Barber race I broadcasted was at Summit Point Raceway. And we're back next week. I've done this rodeo twice now, and let me tell you, there's a lot of drafting. There's a lot of drafting there. So it's definitely another one of those, be in the right place at the right time and forces a photo finish races, but it's always extremely close. It's a really fun race, and we'll be here this time next week, hopefully with the mic engaged from minute 0. All the dials were moving on my end. That's all my lawyers told me to say. They were moving on my end. I do really appreciate the live feedback, of course, because sometimes we make stupid mistakes and feel terrible about it for the rest of the day. And the toga goes wide in the carousel. Could be intentional, or could have been a mistake in not making the corner. Either way, he'll be at the back of the train when we return to the straight. Hanada as well. I think he's in range this time to make an attack. Adam Miles' lap has been... I don't know if Adam Miles' lap's been less impressive than the last one. However, Hanada's had a great one, but that is close enough to make this Dotanaho chase a real run for it to finish off this race. I cannot get an angle of this track that is not immediately interrupted by a JPEG tree. So take that for what it is. It's bothering, like, you know, maybe the Nurburgring's bothering me and it's getting into my hair as well today. Brendan McDonough may be able to get a pass on Tom Payne as well. I'm like, yeah, we have a great angle today, don't we? Tree. And it's not even like a tree that looks good. It's a tree that just takes up your whole screen, just blocks you out. Also, tomorrow evening, the FF1600 series goes to another round of Alton Park. Oh, it's always a spectacular, spectacular joy. I've been looking forward to that one all weekend. Very much look forward to checking that one out on the channel as well. Same times, same places. That sounds like a very bad marketing slogan. Chenoweth with a good lead. Gardner with a good lead. Chenoweth trying to catch. Chenoweth is a second behind here. Gardner's decided to play the fly away game. Everyone else is trying to play games for this start-finish straight, and there are games to be played if you know where to look for them. The Dotanaho calls for Toshimasa Hanada, and he's going to be the first to claim position. It's not over yet, though, by any means for Adam Miles. Maybe he was just waiting for this moment. Further back, Chenoweth has made the gap over Neil Gardner. A toga may also be in that tow as well. These cars ridiculously slipstreamy. This is going to go down to the absolute wire. Adam Miles really hoping there's more time left in this straight for him. Grass getting kicked up behind. I think there is enough for him. He's now going to reclaim that move. Further behind, I want to catch it. They're going 3 wide. In fact, there's contact there on Gardner, but Chenoweth behind. A toga has the advantage. Gonna have to catch Adam Miles crossing the line. He made the moves when he needed to. He proved himself the Nords farmer. Maybe he's just a Skip Barber farmer. He's a terror on wheels. And another thing good to stay up there. It's Daniel Toga that makes the most of that little situation there to claim the P3, though. I want to try and just get one more angle of that one. One more look at that. There was contact that triggered this one off. They're going 3 wide. I think he's just not quite clear, and that's the contact with Chenoweth that really seals the deal, I think. No more momentum to be made end of the straight. That could have been a disaster. Instead, all 3 slide across the track to finish their race. Well, that's the Nords. You love it or you hate it. It certainly is, though. Certainly does bring a very different kind of race. And it takes a different kind of talent to get around this track effectively. Really, really does. I can't do it. Fast, at least. I was able to do it in the IRO 1 at one point. But other than that, I'm often wrecking myself off the track. And we'll be able to just pull in some race results and some championship standings. Oh, it's been unusually short. The Nurburgring usually feels like it takes my whole lifetime away, 3 laps of it, but even in slow cars, the time does fly. Maybe you'll appreciate that or not. Adam Miles claims the win over Yoshimasa Hanada in P2. Daniel Otovga gets the best of the train ahead of Neil Gardner and Ryan Shinoef. Behind, Sam Devontier leads over Teru Hitanen, Brendan McDonnell, Tom Payne, and Zerne Zorek. With Wolfgang Halper, Chris Wayne, Peter Solpanki, and Jade Bresco not finishing. This has put Adam Miles back in with a championship where he doesn't even race every week. What do I say? He is a force to be reckoned with when he shows. 1 point behind Neil Gardner as we approach Summit Point, which I think is going to be a much busier track. I've seen a lot of outrageous, silly moves and sends going in around Summit Point in these cars. I think it could be the hot spot of controversy. But all I know is this championship's just been blown wide open by the Nords. 4 drivers in it to win it by a matter of point. Every week is going to count. Well, you can finally hear me. Only took you a while to do so. I've been Howie Burroughs, and not only am I wishing you well at home, as I always do, to kick off the coming week, but I'm also wishing sports teams that aren't divisional rivals of the New York Giants well. This may have been the biggest sporting event on a Sunday, but I hear there might be something else going on if you're interested. So, the world's attention will be drawn on this very, very Nurburgring Sunday. Let me